Bret Bielema took the stage for Illinois here at Big Ten Media Days and was far and away the most entertaining coach that went up there. Sunny Verma joining me here of Locked On Illini. What did you make of what Illinois' head coach said up here in Indianapolis?
You know, Bret continues his streak of the head coach who I want to have a post-media day beer with. Basically every year that he's been coaching in the league. Each coach is allotted 15 minutes, and I think he talked for about 12 of them.
Yeah, he did. He only took one question.
There was only time for one question because he loves to talk, and he's got stories upon stories about him. Stories. I think he talked about. He's got 16 years worth of stories now, and so But I did get some side time with him, and Bret is one of those guys who you really saw the coaching aspect. Like what he really enjoys is growing these players into men. He talked about what he does every single year is that he picks the 3 guys and he drives them literally from Champaign to Media Day, and he kind of coaches them. Hey, these are the type of questions that are going to be coming. Easy questions, difficult questions, and then really difficult questions. But he lets them know, hey, there's 54 players that are going to be at Big Ten Media Day. 54 of the best players in the conference, and you 3 are 3 of them. And so, he wants their players to really grow and embrace their role, their leadership role, because the season is only 40 days away. And you know what, like the 3 guys that he's bringing in, he's going to be counting on for that leadership role. You are now the face of Illinois football. Isaiah Williams is not there anymore. Drazan Newton is not there anymore. Keith Randolph is not there anymore. You guys are the next in line in the lineage of Illinois football. And so, it's just nice to see a coach who really does care about his players.
Which players did he bring, first of all? And secondly, what do you make of, what's needed from them? And why do you think those were the players that Bret Bielema brought?
Well, he talked about it in his opening presser. Like the 3 guys that he brought, Gabe Yakis, Seth Coleman, and Pat Bryant, are 3 guys who's played their entire careers for Illinois. And you don't know if that's necessarily going to happen from here on out with the way college football is looking. So,
guys just leave.
Yeah.
Even guys that are, starting. And I think you'd think traditionally of a school like Illinois, where they've been in the Big Ten, as that sort of program that loses guys to the quote-unquote bigger brands.
Exactly. And he talked about actually Gabe, one of the linebackers on our team, who he decided to bring. He wanted to bring this year because he thinks he could make it to the NFL next year. Gabe is a guy who SEC teams have been trying to sniff around in the past, and that's just the reality. But Gabe trusted his coach, trusted the staff here, and now he wanted to bring Gabe to Media Day knowing that Gabe might be playing at the next level next year. And so he's the type of guy who said, I don't want to bring a player because he's he's going to be senior next year, so I'll bring him next year. It's like, no, Gabe has worked his butt off. And so he wanted to give him that opportunity this year to, really embrace this role as one of our key players.
Every coach at some level comes to media days and, is saying what media people might want to hear, what fans might want to hear. And I think every coach at some level is genuine in their confidence in the football team that they have, because they know how much work has gone into putting that team together, acquiring all the players on the roster. But the outside narrative on Illinois, it's not particularly strong. They are picked close to the bottom. I think it was 16th out of 18th in the Big Ten preseason media poll from, I believe it was USA Today.
I think it was 13.
13. Yeah, 13. But regardless, they're closer to the bottom than they are to the top. And it certainly is getting harder now.
Exactly.
Tony Petitti talked about bringing in the 4 new teams in Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. Illinois is one of those teams that people might look at and say it's going to get a lot harder for them to win. What do you make of Bret Bielema's confidence? Do you think it's just kind of projection? Do you think he really believes it? Somewhere in between? How should Illinois feel going into this year?
I mean, it's probably somewhere in between, but he's raised the floor substantially from where his predecessors had the team. We still kind of lack maybe the high-end talent that some of the top half of the Big Ten has, but Bret, at this point, I think Brett McMurphy released a fantastic tweet where he talked about he's got the best record in the first 3 years at Illinois since John Malkovich in the late 80s. So, again, Illinois isn't exactly a sexy brand, but we're in games. And last year, the story of last year was we lost more games by less than a touchdown than almost any other team in the country last year. And this year, he kind of talked about how
call you Scott Frost's
please.
Nebraska.
Oh, no, let's not do that. Let's not go there. But he just talked about, when he came to Illinois, he had to teach the players not to lose because that's just what they were kind of used to. And now he's at the point where he's trying to, now that they're not losing, he needs to flip the switch and teach them how to win. And that's kind of what the goal of year 4 is going to be.
Yeah, and one of the guys who is not here but is going to be a large factor in whether or not Illinois gets to that point is quarterback Luke Altmeyer, because this is not a great lineup of Big Ten quarterbacks. I think of the Power 4 leagues, the Big Ten is actually the weakest of the bunch at the quarterback position. But in this conference, I don't look at Luke Altmeyer and see anything at this point other than a guy who, can make a throw from time to time, but his primary feature is that he can run, that he's got mobility. How does he take a step forward with his passing this year?
I think you'll be surprised, Spencer. I think, what you've kind of said is kind of the national narrative, just because everyone saw that Penn State game. And he had the 4 interceptions in the first half.
That was not great. That was not great.
It was pretty sickening. But he actually finished the season having 10 touchdowns to 3 interceptions in his last 6 starts. He's a guy who improved, but because he lost, because of the Penn State first half, and then he eventually lost that job to John Paddock. And I wouldn't even say he lost the job. It's just John Paddock threw for 525 yards against Indiana, and it's hard to bench a player after he just throws for 525 yards. And so I think, a lot of people might be down on Luke, but Bret actually talked about Luke a little bit today, saying that, when they had the conversation with him last year that they were going to continue starting John Paddock, Luke did not put his head down. He instead basically just took notes and, asked John, why did you throw this? Why did you do that? Basically looking to learn. A lot of people forget that last year was Luke's first full season as a college football starter. He had his first 10 starts last year. And so, my hope is, as a sophomore, the game starts slowing down. And I genuinely think he's a top half in the Big Ten quarterback.
I don't think that's as tough of a list to crack, depending on how a couple of young guys do, like Aiden Childs at Michigan State, mega talent. Dylan Raiola at Nebraska, mega talent. But I'll get you out of here on this for today's show, Sunny. What do you expect? This is kind of the unofficial start of the college football season in 2024. What do you expect from Illinois right now? What does a good season look like?
Our over-under is 5.5, and I genuinely now lean towards the over. The message about him saying, I've taught them not to lose. Now my job is to tell them how to win. I think, it kind of explains the transition process of being a head coach of a program like Illinois, who historically isn't one of the top programs in the Big Ten. But this man has years and decades of experience. He coached at Wisconsin, he coached at Arkansas, and then for a while he took a break and he learned from Bill Belichick, at the NFL level. He knows what he's doing when he took that job at Illinois. He knew it wasn't going to be easy, and it's going to take a year-by-year process, and I'm really excited to see what he has in store for year 4.
Sunny Verma, Locked On Illini, joining me live and in person here at Lucas Oil Stadium at Big Ten Media Days. Sunny, my man, appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Spencer.
Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.